Greetings everyone, my name is Gigi, this is Let's Build, wherein I build an interlocking brick set timed to different media and talk about the facts concerning the topic of the build. Today's build is the LEGO Earth and Moon in Orbit versus the PlayStation 3 Mass Effect. The footage I am using from this game is for science, educational, and research purposes. My content is transformative and protected under fair use. All footage is time-lapse with commentary. There will be spoilers for Mass Effect. You have been warned. Specifications of the LEGO set. Curious kids aged 10 and up will love learning more about our solar system with this LEGO Technic Planet Earth and Moon in Orbit space set toy for kids. The interactive set makes it easy to understand different concepts like the orbit of the Earth and the Moon, the Earth's gravitational pull, and how the rotations affect the seasons. Cool features include a crankshaft that kids can turn to create the rotations. There are also months and moon phases to show the progress of the Earth, Sun, and Moon throughout the year. This makes a great gift for boys, girls, and all kids who love planet toys. Check out more space gifts sold separately in the LEGO Technic range. LEGO Technic building toys for kids include true-to-life details that introduce young LEGO builders to engineering through imaginative play. Give your youngster an easy and intuitive building adventure with the LEGO Builder app, where they can zoom in and rotate models in 3D, save sets, and track their progress. Interactive model. Inspire kids to build a representation of the Earth, Sun, and Moon in orbit with this LEGO Technic Planet Earth and Moon in Orbit building toy for kids age 10 and up. Educational space toy. Kids can turn the crank to see how the Earth and the Moon orbit around the Sun. Includes months and moon phases. This solar system toy includes details like the month and moon phases to help kids see how the Earth's orbit affects our seasons. A space toy for kids. This set makes a fun gift for kids age 10 and up who love planet toys and learning more about the solar system. Intuitive instructions. Use the LEGO Builder app to guide your youngster on an intuitive building adventure with tools and let them zoom in and rotate models in 3D, save, and track progress. Measurements. This 526-piece set with a model measuring over 9 inches high, 12.5 inches long, and 7 inches wide. The instruction booklet goes right into the build without any further fanfare or history. An orrery is a mechanical model of the solar system that illustrates or predicts the relative positions and motions of the planets and moons, usually according to a heliocentric model. It may also represent the relative sizes of these bodies. However, since accurate scaling is often not practical due to the actual large ratio differences, it may use a scaled-down approximation. The Greeks had working planetaria, but the first modern examples was produced in 1712 by John Rowley. He named it an orrery for his patron Charles Boyle, the 4th Earl of Orrery, in County Cork, Ireland. The plaque on it reads, "Orrery invented by Graham 1700, improved by Rowley, and presented by him to John Earl of Orrery, after whom it was named at the suggestion of Richard Steele." Orreries are typically driven by a clockwork mechanism with a globe representing the sun at the center and with a planet at the end of each of the series of arms. History. The Antikythera mechanism, discovered in 1901 in a wreck off the Greek island of Antikythera in the Mediterranean Sea, exhibited in the diurnal motions of the sun, moon, and 5 planets known to the ancient Greeks. It has been dated between 205 to 87 BC. The mechanism is considered one of the first orreries. It was a geocentric and used a mechanical calculator to calculate astronomical positions. Cicero, the Roman philosopher and politician writing in the 1st century BC, has references describing planetary mechanical models. According to him, the Greek polymaths Thales and Posidonius both constructed a device modeling celestial motion. In 1348, Giovanni Dondi built the first known clock-driven mechanism of the system. It displayed the ecliptic positions of the Moon, Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, according to the complicated geocentric Ptolemaic planetary theories. The clock itself is lost, but Dondi left a complete description of its astronomic gear trains. As late as 1650, P. Shirlius built a geocentric planetarium with the Sun as a planet, and with Mercury and Venus revolving around the Sun as its moons. At the court of William V Landgrave Hesse-Kassel, 2 complicated astronomic clocks were built in 1561 and 1563 through 68. These 4 sides show the elliptical positions of the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, the Moon, Sun, and Dragon, which is nodes of the Moon, according to Ptolemy, a calendar, the sunrise and sunset, and an automated celestial sphere with an animated sun symbol, which, for the first time on a celestial globe, shows the real position of the Sun, including the equation of time. The clocks are now on display at Kassel at the Astronomisches Physikalisches Kabinett and in Dresden at the Mathematische Physikalischer Salon. In De Revolutionibus Orbium Coelestium, published in Nuremberg in 1543, Nicholas Copernicus challenged the Western teaching of a geocentric universe in which the Sun revolved daily around the Earth. He observed that some Greek philosophers, such as Aristarchus of Samos, had proposed a heliocentric universe. This simplified the apparent epicyclic motions of the planets, making it feasible to represent the planets' paths as simple circles. This could be modeled by the use of gears. Tycho Brahe's improvised instruments made precise observations of the skies, and from these, Johannes Kepler deduced that the planets orbited the Sun in ellipses. In 1687, Isaac Newton explained the cause of elliptic motion in his theory of gravitation. There is an orrery built by clockmakers George Graham and Thomas Tompion, dated 1710, in the History of Science Museum, Oxford. Graham gave the first model, or its design, to the celebrated instrument maker John Rowley of London to make a copy for Prince Eugene of Savoy. Rowley commissioned to make another copy for his patron Charles Boyle, 4th Earl of Orrery, from which the device took its name in English. This model was presented to Charles's son John, later the 5th Earl of Cork and 5th Earl of Orrery. Independently, Christian Huygens published in 1703 details of a heliocentric planetary machine which he had built while living in Paris between 1665 and 1681. He calculated the gear trains needed to represent a year of 365.242 days and used that to produce the cycles of the principal planets. Joseph Wright's painting, A Philosopher Giving a Lecture on the Orrery, from 1766, which hangs in the Derby Museum and Art Gallery, depicts a group listening to a lecture by a natural philosopher. The sun in a brass orrery provides the only light in the room. The orrery depicted in the painting has rings, which give it an appearance similar to that of an armillary sphere. The demonstration was thereby able to depict eclipses. To put this in chronological context, in 1762, John Harrison's marine chronometer first enabled accurate measurement of longitude. In 1766, astronomer Johann Daniel Titius first demonstrated that the mean distance of each planet from the Sun could be represented by the following progression: 4 plus 0, 1, 0, 4 plus 3, 1, 0, 4 plus 6, 1, 0, 4 plus 12, 10, 4 plus 24, 10. That is, meaning 0.4, 0.7, 1, 1.6, 2.8. The numbers refer to astronomical units. The mean distance between Sun and Earth, which is 1.496 times 10 to the 8th power in kilometers. The Derby Orrery does not show mean distance, but demonstrated the relative planetary movements. The Isinga Planetarium was built from 1774 to 1781 by Ise Isinga in his home in Franeker in the Netherlands. It displays the planets across the width of the room's ceiling and has been in operation almost continuously since it was created. This orrery is a planetarium in both senses of the word, a complex machine showing planetary orbits, and a theater for depicting the planet's movement. Isinga House was bought by the Dutch royal family, who gave him a pension. In 1764, Benjamin Martin devised a new type of planetary model, in which the planets were carried on brass arms leading from a series of concentric or coaxial tubes. With this construction, it was difficult to make the planets revolve and to get the moons to turn around the planets. Martin suggested that the conventional orrery should consist of 3 parts: the planetarium, where the planets revolved around the Sun; the tellurion, which showed the inclined axes of the Earth and how it revolved around the Sun; and the lunarium, which showed the eccentric rotations of the Moon around the Earth. In one orrery, these 3 motions could be mounted on a common table, separately using the central spindle as a prime mover. Workings. All orreries are planetariums. The term orrery only existed since 1714. A grand orrery is one that includes the outer planets known at the time of its construction. The word planetarium has shifted meaning and now usually refers to hemispherical theaters in which images of the night sky are projected onto an overhead surface. Orreries can range widely in size, from handheld to room-sized. An orrery is used to demonstrate the motion of the planets, while a mechanical device used to predict eclipses and transits is called an astrarium. An orrery should properly include the Sun, Earth, and the Moon, plus optionally other planets. A model that only includes the Earth, Moon, and the Sun is called a tellurium, and one which only includes the Earth and the Moon is a lunarium. A planetarium will show the orbital period of each planet and the rotation rate. A tellurion will show the Earth and the Moon revolving around the Sun. It will use the angle of inclination of the equator to show how it rotates around its own axes. It will show the Earth's moon rotating around the Earth. A lunarium is designed to show the complex motions of the moon as it revolves around the Earth. Orreries are usually not built to scale. Human orreries, where humans move about as the planets, have also been constructed, but most are temporary. There is a permanent human orrery at Armagh Observatory in Northern Ireland, which has 6 ancient planets and the comets Halley and Encke. Uranus and beyond are also shown, but in a fairly limited way. Another is at Sky's The Limit Observatory and Nature Center in 29 Palms, California. It is a true to scale, 20 billion to 1, true to position, accurate within about 4 days, human orrery. The first 4 planets are relatively close to one another, but the next 4 require a certain amount of hiking in order to visit them. A census of all permanent human orreries has been initiated by the French group FHOU with a new effort to study their impact for education in schools. A map of known human orreries is available. A normal mechanical clock could be used to produce an extremely simple orrery to demonstrate the principle, with the Sun in the center, Earth on the minute hand, and Jupiter on the hour hand. Earth would make 12 revolutions around the Sun for every 1 revolution of Jupiter. As Jupiter's actual year is 11.86 Earth years long, the model would lose accuracy rapidly. Projection. Many planetariums have a projection orrery, which projects onto the dome of the planetarium a sun with either dots or small images of the other planets. These usually are limited to the planets from Mercury to Saturn, although some include Uranus. The light sources for the planets are projected onto mirrors, which are geared to a motor which drives the images on the dome. Typically, the Earth will circle the Sun in about a minute, while the other planets will complete an orbit in time periods proportional to their actual motion. Thus, Venus, which takes 224.7 days to orbit the Sun, will take 37 seconds to complete an orbit in an orrery, and Jupiter will take 11 minutes 52 seconds. Some planetariums have taken advantage of this to use orreries to simulate planets and their moons. Thus, Mercury orbits the Sun in 0.24 of an Earth year, while Phobos and Deimos orbit Mars in a similar 4:1 time ratio. Planetarium operators wishing to show this have placed a red cap on the Sun to make it resemble Mars, and turned off all the other planets but Mercury and the Earth. Similar approximations can be used to show Pluto and its 5 moons. Notable examples: shoemaker John Fulton of Fenwick, Ayrshire, built 3 between 1823 and 1833. The last is in Glasgow's Kelvin Grove Art Gallery and Museum. The Isinga Planetarium, built by a wool carder named Asa Isinga in his own living room in the small city of Franeker in Friesland, is in fact an orrery. It was constructed between 1774 and 1781. The base of the model faces down from the ceiling of the room, with most of the mechanical works in the space above the ceiling. It is driven by a pendulum clock, which has 9 weights or pawns. The planets move around the model in real time. An innovative concept is to have people play the role of the moving planets and other solar system objects. Such a model, called a human orrery, has been laid out at the Armagh Observatory. In 2024, the LEGO Group commercially produced an orrery of the Sun, Earth, and Moon. The model is assembled exclusively from LEGO elements and reproduces solar and lunar orbits, as well as the Earth's rotation about a tilted axis. Mass Effect is a 2007 action role-playing game developed by BioWare and published by Microsoft Game Studios for the Xbox 360. It is the first game in the Mass Effect series and takes place within the Milky Way galaxy in the year 2183, where civilization is threatened by a highly advanced machine race known as the Reapers. The player assumes the role of Commander Shepard, an elite human soldier who must stop a rogue agent from carrying out the Reapers' galactic invasion. The game involves completing multiple quests that generally involve space exploration, squad and vehicular combat, and interaction with non-player characters, or NPCs. Planned as the first chapter of a trilogy, Mass Effect was developed under the course of 3.5 years and uses the Unreal Engine 3 as a groundwork. It was designed so that the player would assume the role of a central character that could make important decisions and impact the story of the game in numerous ways. The combat was designed to offer the tactics and customization of a role-playing game, but through a simpler and real-time third-person shooter interface. In 2008 and 2009, 2 DLC content packs that introduced new missions to the base game were released. Mass Effect received critical acclaim and sold over 1.5 million copies by January of 2008. Critics praised the game's interactive storytelling and cinematic design, but criticized its unbalanced combat mechanics and poor artificial intelligence. The game received several year-end awards, including Best RPG at the 2007 Spike Video Game Awards and Role-Playing Game of the Year at the 11th Annual Interactive Achievement Awards, and is considered one of the greatest video games of all time. Following the release for the Xbox 360, Mass Effect was ported to Windows by Demiurge Studios and Microsoft Game Studios in 2008, and later on to PlayStation 3 by Edge of Reality and Electronic Arts in 2012. It was followed by the sequels Mass Effect 2 in 2010 and Mass Effect 3 in 2012. In 2021, Mass Effect was remastered as part of the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Gameplay. Mass Effect is a single-player action role-playing game in which the player takes the role of Commander Shepard from a third-person perspective. Shepard's gender, appearance, military background, combat training, and first name are determined by the player before the game even begins. There are 6 different character classes for the player to choose from, and each of them have different talents that provide enhanced combat capabilities. For example, the Soldier class is trained in weapon damage and has improved health, while the Sentinel class is trained in protecting and healing allies. At one point in the game, players may evolve their base class talent into one of 2 specializations, which depend on the class chosen by the player. Although any class can use any weapon type, each class is only effective with the weapons that they are trained in. The game's overworld is a galaxy map that the player can explore to find and complete quests. Most of the quests that progress the story consist of combat missions, while optional quests generally involve the player gathering items or interacting with non-player characters. As the player progresses throughout the game, 6 squad members become available, each with their own talents that can be developed. Experience points are gained in multiple ways, such as completing quests, defeating enemies, or finding and collecting items around the environment. Each time a sufficient amount of experience is obtained, the player levels up and is awarded a number of talent points that can be used to develop talents for both Shepard and the members of the squad. Each talent has 12 ranks that can be unlocked, with each rank costing 1 talent point. The player's primary mode of transportation is a starship which serves as Shepard's base of operations. Aboard the ship, the player can interact with squad members, buy new equipment, and travel to numerous planetary systems. Although the game features a large number of planets for the player to examine, only a few of them can actually be landed on and explored. Some of them can also be surveyed to search for valuable resources and quest-relevant items. Upon landing on a planet, the player can traverse on foot or by using an all-terrain infantry fighting vehicle called the M35 Mako. Most of the game's main quests are geared toward on-foot combat, but some segments may feature combat requiring the use of the M35 Mako. In contrast, secondary quests usually require the player to explore free-roam, uncharted worlds with the vehicle. Equipment items, which include armor, weapon, and ammunition upgrades, can be found around the environment or purchased from merchants in settlements. Combat. Combat in Mass Effect is squad-based and 2 squad members accompany the player on the battlefield. The player has direct control of Shepard, while the squad members are controlled by the game's artificial intelligence. Battles take place in real time, but the player can pause the action at any time to calmly target enemies and select different talent abilities for the squad members to use. The game uses an over-the-shoulder perspective akin to a third-person shooter, and features a cover system which allows players to strategically hide behind objects while fighting enemy forces. The player may also issue orders to the squad members, such as sending them to take cover behind an object, scout ahead, regroup, or focus their fire on a designated target. Weapons range from pistols to shotguns, assault rifles, and sniper rifles. Although all of them have unlimited ammunition, they overheat if fired continuously for prolonged periods. In addition, the player can use grenades, which latch onto targets or flat surfaces to be remotely detonated. Shepard and the squad members are protected by a health bar and damage-absorbing shields. The health bar only takes damage once the shields have been destroyed, but environmental hazards like heat or toxic agents may directly affect the health bar if they are not negated entirely by wearing appropriate gear or armor. The health bar can be restored with the use of items called medigels, while shields automatically regenerate when not taking fire for a brief period. Some talents and equipment items can improve the healing rate or shield regeneration. The player can revive fallen squad members with the use of the Unity talent. However, if Shepard dies, the player must start the game again from the last save point. Dialogue and morality. During conversations with characters, Mass Effect employs a radial command menu called a dialogue wheel, where the player's dialogue options depend on wheel direction. The left side of the wheel is normally reserved for options that will continue the conversation in depth, while options on the right side tend to move the conversation toward completion. Responses at the top are generally more polite and selfless, while those at the bottom are more aggressive and hostile. Dialogue choices impact how others react to Shepard and affect the player's chosen morality. Morality is measured by Paragon, Charm, and Renegade, Intimidate points. These points allow the player to develop talents that affect the availability of new special Paragon and Renegade dialogue options with significant impact in the game. Synopsis, settings, and characters. Mass Effect is set within the Milky Way galaxy in the year 2183, where interstellar travel is possible through the use of mass transit devices called mass relays, a technology believed to have been built by an extinct alien race known as the Protheans. The term Mass Effect is defined as a form of mass-negating technology, allowing the creation of physics phenomena like artificial gravity or faster-than-light travel. A conglomerate body of governments known as the Citadel Council controls a large percentage of the galaxy and is responsible for maintaining law and order among races of the galactic community. Races that belong to the Citadel Council include humans, Asari, Solarians, and Turians. Other alien races seen in the game include the reptilian Krogan, the environmental-suited Quarians, and a hostile race of networked artificial intelligences called the Geth. Humanity is represented by the Systems Alliance, an organized body that joined the galactic community in 2157. The protagonist of the game is Commander Shepard, a graduate of the Systems Alliance Special Forces program and a candidate to become the first human member of the Special Tactics and Reconnaissance, or Spectre, Force. Agents given a broad authority by the Citadel Council to protect the galaxy. Shepard's squad members include Human Systems Alliance Marine Kaidan Alenko, Human Systems Alliance soldier Ashley Williams, Turian Citadel security officer Garrus Vakarian, Krogan mercenary Ernot Rex, Quarian mechanic Tali Zora, and Asari exo-archaeologist Lyra Tsani. Other characters include SSV Normandy Captain David Anderson and the Normandy's pilot Jeff Joker Moreau. Plot: Shepard and Kaidan are sent to the human colony of Eden Prime to recover an unearthed Prothean beacon. They repel an attack by the Geth, rescuing Ashley in the process, though Corporal Jenkins is killed. Saren Arterius? Saren Arterius, a rogue Turian Spectre, activates the beacon before escaping. Shepard reaches the beacon and receives a vision of war and death. The SSV Normandy and its crew are summoned by Ambassador Donal Udina to the Citadel station, but Shepard is unable to convince the Citadel Council of Saren's treason without solid evidence. Shepard rescues Tali, who possesses a recording of a conversation between Saren and Asari matriarch Benezia. The two discuss their victory while also monitoring an artifact called the Conduit and the return of the Reapers, a highly advanced machine race of synthetic organic starships believed to eradicate organic civilizations every 50,000 years. The Council revokes Saren's Spectre status and makes Shepard the first human Spectre. Given command of the Normandy by Anderson, Shepard begins to follow leads provided by him and Udina in pursuit of Saren. On the planet Thurum, Shepard rescues Benezia's daughter, Lyra Tsani, who joins Shepard's squad and provides better understanding of the vision from the beacon. On the colony of Pharos, Shepard acquires the ability to comprehend and interpret the images seen in the vision from a former subordinate of Benezia, and learns that Saren's flagship, the Sovereign, possesses unique mind control capabilities. On the world of Noveria, Shepard tracks down and defeats Benezia, who reveals that she and Saren are being indoctrinated by Sovereign. Meanwhile, the Council informs Shepard that a Solarian infiltration unit has uncovered Saren's main base on Virmire. After learning that Saren has discovered a cure for the Krogan genetic disease, the genophage, and plans to breed an army of Krogan warriors, Shepard decides to assist the Solarians in destroying the base by planting a bomb. If recruited, Rex confronts Shepard over whether to destroy it, which results in him either standing down or being executed. Inside the base, Shepard is confronted by Sovereign, who reveals itself to be a Reaper. Sovereign reveals that the Reapers remain outside the galaxy waiting for organic life to develop and discover the mass relays before harvesting them when they can reach their peak of advancement. Afterwards, Shepard must choose between saving Ashley or Kaidan, who are both pinned down, before encountering Saren, who claims that his allegiance to Sovereign will save organic life forms by demonstrating their usefulness to the Reapers. On the Normandy, Lyra pinpoints the Conduit's location, a Prothean world known as Ios. Shepard presents this information to the Council, who dismiss the need for a mission to Ios and instead opt to reinforce the military presence around the Citadel in anticipation of Saren's offensive. Relieved of command of the Normandy by Udina, Shepard is approached by Anderson, who offers Shepard a chance to steal the spacecraft and pursue Saren to Ios. On Ios, Shepard learns from a Prothean virtual intelligence named Vigil that the Citadel is actually an enormous mass relay that the Reapers use to invade the galaxy. A few Protheans survived the last extinction cycle via cryopreservation on Ios and then re-entered the Citadel via the Conduit, a reverse-engineered miniature mass relay disguised aboard the station as a statue. The Protheans sabotaged the Citadel to prevent the Reapers from remotely activating it, which Saren plans to undo in order to trigger the Reaper invasion. Meanwhile, as Shepard had warned, Saren and Sovereign invade the Citadel, catching the defending fleets off guard and threatening the safety of the Council members. After fighting through Geth forces at the Conduit, Shepard confronts Saren at the Citadel. Saren is either killed by Shepard or convinced to commit suicide. The Destiny Ascension, the Citadel's flagship of the console on board, then requests assistance. Shepard must either risk Alliance reinforcements to save them, or sacrifice the Destiny Ascension and send the reinforcements to pursue Sovereign. Sovereign then reanimates and possesses Saren's corpse to attack Shepard while fighting off Citadel forces. Eventually, Saren's corpse is destroyed, incapacitating Sovereign and allowing it to be dispatched by the Alliance. For prevailing, humanity is either invited to join the Council if it was saved, or becomes its new leader if it was left to perish. After either Anderson or Udina assumes the new leadership position, Shepard leaves the proceedings, vowing to end the Reaper threat. Development. Mass Effect was developed by BioWare and directed by Casey Hudson, who previously directed BioWare's 2003 title Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic. Pre-production of the game began early in 2004, shortly after the Microsoft Windows version of Knights of the Old Republic was released. As the development team was already experienced with the Xbox console, they decided to develop the game originally for its successor, the Xbox 360, due to its improved processing power and development tools. A total of 130 people were involved in the development of the game, and the first 6 to 8 months were spent conceiving how the game would look. Mass Effect uses the Unreal Engine 3 as a groundwork, but on top of that, the team developed additional components for advanced digital actors, space exploration, and squad combat, resulting in BioWare's largest programming project at the time. During the game's 3 to 4 year development cycle, most of the time had been devoted to the development of these technologies. Because BioWare wanted to create a memorable story, Mass Effect was envisioned as the first chapter of a trilogy from the very beginning, and having a considerable technological basis would help shorten the development cycle of its future sequels. Instead of designing a role-playing game where the player would control a blank protagonist, the developers wanted players to assume the role of a central character that would have to make important decisions. According to Hudson, this approach would allow them to create a unique level of intensity and cinematic power, while at the same time give the player the same role-playing customization as previous BioWare games. Choices and consequences were a high priority, as developers did not want players to follow a predetermined path. Due to the game's numerous dialogue options, the dialogue wheel was created to help players identify which responses belong to certain emotions. The use of digital actors allowed developers to create conversations where characters would speak by using facial expressions and body movement. Hudson explained that they wanted to evolve the pseudo-turn-based combat of Knights of the Old Republic into a real-time third-person shooter interface. The combat was meant to offer the tactics and customization of role-playing game, but through a simpler and more intuitive user interface. It was also designed so that players would not need to press many buttons to pull off the squad's different attack combinations. The team worked closely with Microsoft on several elements of the interface to make sure the combat was tactical enough, and went through a lot of trial and error to balance the combat between role-playing game and a shooter. Creating a great sense of discovery was a major goal. Developers wanted the game to feature an actual galaxy that could be explored beyond the core story locations. A very large team manually built several parts of the galaxy, and they were able to expand the playable space significantly by using internally developed tools. Classic space exploration games such as Starflight and Star Control were cited as major inspirations. These encouraged the team to create the M35 Mako for exploring the game's uncharted worlds and develop game mechanics to survey planets from space. Star Control 2 would be an inspiration for their writing and character design. Drew Karpyshyn, who previously served as a senior writer for Knights of the Old Republic, was the lead writer for Mass Effect. Despite the fact that each of the game's planets had one primary writer, all of the writers involved in the production had to review each other's work and offer criticism. This process of collaborative feedback and individual effort is common at BioWare, and it behooved Karpyshyn to make sure the style was consistent across all different areas. One of the biggest challenges of the writers faced was the amount of volume that they were required to write to support the game's multiple dialogue paths and story outcomes. It took them 3 years to get everything into the game, which featured about 400,000 words and more than 20,000 lines of spoken dialogue. According to Karpyshyn, this roughly was the equivalent of 20 movies or 4 to 5 full novels. Films such as Star Wars, Alien, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, Blade Runner, Starship Troopers, and especially Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within were major influences on the atmosphere and artistic qualities of the game. The team chose Jack Wall, who also penned the music for BioWare's 2005 title, The Jade Empire, as the main composer of Mass Effect due to his ability to produce a wide range of musical styles. Hudson had a clear idea of what kind of music he wanted in the game, but gave Wall certain artistic freedom to express himself. According to Wall, the main vision was to marry the electronic instrument palette of the late 70s, early 80s with more organic elements. Wall had never written this style of music before, but composer Sam Hulick helped him develop the electronic sound on a classic orchestral foundation. By the end of the project, composers Richard Jacques and David Cates joined Wall and Hulick to finish the score on time, while a total of 110 minutes of music was written for the game. All in-game and cinematic music was crafted as multiple stems to maximize their use and variety. The game went gold October 22nd, 2007. Mass Effect is the clear choice to pair up with this LEGO Tellurian. I especially like the way the title is a play on various themes, how mass affects the gravitational pull of objects and thereby its orbit, as well as the relationship of masses, referring to different species of the peoples and how they relate to each other. I know that the in-game canon is that the name is based on the discovery of the mass relay technology. One of the things that annoyed me while playing was actually the dialogue options that you read in the dialogue wheel are not always how you think Shepard will portray them in his spoken dialogue. But overall, I greatly enjoyed this trilogy. Each game is better than the previous in terms of mechanics, visual, and story. I didn't play Andromeda, so it doesn't exist. Total build time, 2 hours, 11 minutes, 38 seconds. You could watch the film Mass Effect Paragon Lost at 84 minutes, which is based on the game Mass Effect 2. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Remember to like, subscribe, share, ring that bell. All the things for the YouTubes. Thank you.